Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Common Dharmas. Common Dharmas applicable to all. Herein, Perival discussed the common injunctions meant for all without being caste specific. They are such value systems as applicable to any situation, anywhere, anytime. When we sit down to do dhyana meditation, what prevents us from being able to concentrate? The endless movement of the mind is the cause. All problems are created by the mind only. The desires that arise in the mind are the root cause. We are not able to control the mind. Instead of being steady, it excels in fickleness. If we tell our mind to think about a particular thing or matter or concept for a short period, it dwells on the subject under consideration, and in no time, without our knowing it, it runs away somewhere else. When I talk of dhyanam and peacefulness, for a second you will be feeling that your mind is static, and again in no time it would have started its oscillations. The peace and bliss that you feel will be evanescent. If you tell yourself not to talk, it may be done for some time. If you tell yourself not to see anything, you may be able to close your eyes. But if you tell your mind not to think, even if you break your head telling it not to think, the mind does not obey. You have mind control only when you have control over the thinking process. When the switching on and off of the thinking is under your control, then only you can claim to have chitta swadhinam, meaning mind control. We refer to some people and say that he is without chitta swadhinam, meaning that he is crazy. In truth, none of us have control over minds, and so we are all mad really. The insane person keeps on blabbering something. We keep running from pillar to post on the whims of our mind. Then we ask each other, do you mind? Do you know what will be your condition when you have control over your mind? Your whole body may be paining when you tell your mind to ignore the pain, and you do not feel the pain anymore. A tiger comes in your front and roars, and you tell yourself, do not panic, and you have no more fear. Then you have chitta swadhinam. Now, we are all the time crying for no reason. When you have mind control, whatever may be the cause for sadness, your mind will remain pleasant and calm. Even when instigated by others, you will remain unruffled. The way to train your mind not to go astray is to replace all thoughts of negativity by positive thoughts. The thinking should become continuous like the flow of oil instead of being continual or scattered. This is called Taila Dhara. The mind should be made directional like a Taila Dhara, unidirectional like a Taila Dhara, and think of God in everything and every person and every event. Then the thought that I am thinking will go and you become divine and divinity. To control the mind like this is yoga. Before death, you have to find a way to control the mind. If we fail to do so, another birth is inevitable. Again, endless oscillations of the mind and running from pillar to post. So, in this life itself, when there are enough reasons for desire and anger, among all these instigations, we should make a wholehearted effort. When you make such an effort and win, such a man is a yogi. His is real happiness, says Krishna Bhagwan. Yoga and such things are for rishis. I am only a common man. I am only too young. I am too preoccupied. These are the all lame excuses extended for procrastination. Who needs the medicine? The sick, is it not so? Who has the disease called the mind? The untamed mind is a disease. So we should take the medicine to control the mind. There are two methods of controlling the mind. One is overt and the other covert. Both the methods should be adopted. For running the matam, as I need helpers like the security guard and driver of the vehicles outside the matam, there are people who work inside the matam, like the person who helps with the flowers and the men who hold the Deivathin, the lighted torch high. Use both outer and inner efforts to control the mind to such an extent that the mind becomes a tool under your control. To give alms, to help others, to do kar seva, to do prayers, sandhya vandanam, participate in yoga, community devotional activities are all overt efforts. Dhyana or meditation is the best inner effort. There are five supportive inner tools for dhyana. They are ahimsa, truthfulness, astheyam, saucham, and indriya nigraham. Ahimsa literally means not being cruel. To make your mind so full of love that you cannot even think of any hurt to anyone or any life form. Satyam is truthfulness that is to be so by mind, speech, and body. Asteyam is not to steal, not being greedy, as well as not to covet. Saucham is cleanliness of body, dress, mind, and heart. Indriya Nigraham does not mean destruction of senses, but exercising such control as obtained through use of the sensual pleasures in moderation without indulging, keeping the other four parameters of ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, and saucham in constant reference. To tell yourself, my eye should not see this, the mouth should not eat this or say this, the ears should not hear this, the body should not commit this sin, is the control of the senses. You feed the senses, but only the minimum. Remain hungry is a yardstick to be applied not only for the tongue and stomach, but to all sensual pleasures. These five are known as Samanya Dharmas. As per Manu Dharma, this is required of all human beings at all times. To refrain from cruelty. Herein, Perival discusses the first of the five inner tools for control of mind, being ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, saucham, and indriya nigraham, as part of the samanya dharma, which is not caste specific. They are such value systems as applicable to any situation, anywhere, anytime. Out of the common or samanya dharma, Manu Dharma Shastram declares that ahimsa is the first. It is one of the five inner injunctions to be adhered to in training oneself to get control over one's mind. Ahimsa is not only avoiding inflicting physical cruelty but also not ever wishing harm to others and not hurting others even by word of mouth. None of us really take pleasure in hurting others, except some who are diagnosed to be for suffering from a mental disease known as sadism. But when we notice that someone is about to harm us or commit a crime, and the only way to stop that person from doing so is to use force, then we may intervene. The point to note here is that if it is a mistake, say by a child, by which something has caught fire, we will not end up punishing the child. We will take action to put out the fire and protect the child from further exposure to fire. We should treat anyone seemingly harming us as we would deal with that child. We should try and prevent them from committing further mistakes and not retaliate with hatred. This ahimsa is a very powerful tool in getting mastery over one's mind. This mind is like a ghost or bhutam. You know the story of how Vikramaditya had to try so hard to master the beetle. But once he had the ghost under control, he could get so much work done by that ghost. Similarly, a mind under control can work wonders. The elephant is uncontrolled, it's a menace. Once under control, it is such a powerful multi-purpose workhorse, isn't it? Or should we call it work elephant? This mind has the power of many elephants. If only we could control and guide it. Anjaneya Swami could achieve so much more than any other in Ramayana because he had his mind under control. The entire universe is the creation of Parashakti's mind. Unmesha Nimushotpanna Vipanna Bhuvanavali, Lalita Sahasranamam. In that creation, even the mind of a small ant runs all over the world. Many great saints have reported that they could get control over their mind by the discipline of ahimsa. By ahimsa, you get rid of anger, mind soaked in love gets so cleansed that it becomes easy to control. The main purpose of ahimsa is mind control, but ahimsa causes certain unintended benefits too. This is called avantara prayojanam, meaning additional benefits. You came here to see the puja in the matam. You also heard the Nadaswara Vadya Ishai, that is instrumental music of Nadaswara. You met some old friends. These are all avantara prayojanam. Similarly, when someone achieves total ahimsa by mind, body, and speech, as in avantara prayojanam, his very proximity causes even wild animals to forget their natural tendency of mutual enmity and distrust. Yoga Sutra says, ahimsa pratishtayam tat sannidhau vaira tyagaha. This means that in the presence of such persons who have completely won over the tendency for cruelty, even natural enmities are forgotten. This has been noticed repeatedly in Ramana Ashram in Tiruvannamalai and recently in the Baba Amte Ashrama in Maharashtra and Mata Amritanandamayi Ashrama in Kerala. Though his intention is to be kind and loving himself, he has this effect on the atmosphere that in his presence everybody else also becomes a source of love. In that way, ahimsa is infectious too. A person adopting the sannyasa ashrama is required to adhere to ahimsa totally and completely. He should not even pluck a leaf. He should not hurt plants by cooking. He is not required to do anything with a fire. By chance, insects could fall in the fire and it is difficult to save them after they have fallen into the fire. So, he is not supposed to light up a fire at all. That is why he is not supposed to do any homa or yaga. After his death, he is given a burial and not a cremation. He is required to take a vow at the time of taking sannyasa that no living thing may fear me anymore. It is his dharma to live in such a manner. Jainism and Buddhism declare ahimsa paramo dharmaha, meaning that not to hurt anything is the foremost dharma as the main common injunction for all people. It is not so in Hinduism. In our religion, it is the injunction applicable only to sannyasis. In a war conducted on a matter of principles of dharma and in yaga, killing is accepted. We believe that an animal given as sacrifice in a yaga attains such an exalted position as not attainable otherwise. Similarly, the soldiers are killed in battle. Instead of carrying on eating and fattening one's body, it is considered noble to sacrifice oneself for common cause. So some exemptions are laid down for ahimsa. Actually, total ahimsa is impractical. You can talk highly of it, but everyone cannot do it. Mistakes, errors, crimes, fisticuffs, riots, confrontations, conflagrations are as much part of life and have to be controlled by use of force sometimes. More than the action taken per se, the intention is more important. Instead of feeling happy about the act of himsa, when a bali sacrifice is given in yaga for common benefit, when a murderer is killed in the gallows, or when an enemy soldier is killed in battle, it is not a sin, but an approved action as per Dharma Shastras. Actually, if you lay down the impractical, total ahimsa for all, we will end up making a sinner of everybody. Our religion, which did not forget this practical aspect, did not do so. But what do we see in the countries following Buddhism? Despite declaring total ahimsa as required of all people, they have people in police and army and they are involved in all sorts of activities with no concern for ahimsa. Not only that, it is also noticed that all of them without exceptions are non vegetarians. A major dharma, if it is kept as a common rule for all, we see that in the end the rule goes unobserved or broken. In our country, Purna Himsa has been kept as an injection only for sannyasis. Almost all Brahmin communities, some Vaishnavas in Gujarat, some Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followers in the eastern India, some Shaiva Vellalars and Komati Chettiars in South India have been motivated by the predominance of sattva qualities in the sannyasis and so have voluntarily opted for vegetarianism of their own free will. They have been in turn responsible for indirectly motivating people of other communities to give up non vegetarian food on a new moon day or a Sashti or some special occasion. By not imposing an impractical restriction on all and sundry and by keeping it as required of only a few matured individuals, that itself has become an ideal for at least some of the others to emulate sincerely. Contrary to this, wherever it has been enjoined on everybody as a necessary requisite, it has gone by default over and above their adding a sinful act to their guilt consciousness, so that ahimsa as a principle will remain at least as an ideal. It has been included as a common dharma. The main purpose is that whatever the work, we should not carry hatred in the heart. Truth. Herein, Perival discusses the second of the five inner tools for control of mind, being ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, saucham, and indriya nigraham, as part of the samanya dharma, which is not caste specific. They are such value systems as applicable to any situation, anywhere, anytime. All the people of the society, irrespective of their caste, are required to observe some common dharmas in which some are overt and some covert. Among the inner and covert samanya dharmas, the first one is ahimsa or unconditional love, and the second is satyam or truth. This has been defined by our elders as the oneness of speech and mind. If you say something and believe in something else, it is astyam or untruth. Vang manasyoha aikarupam satyam. God has given us the power of speech only so that we can tell what is in our minds. If we say something and do differently, in our next life we will be denied the power of speech. That is, we will be born as an animal. Lying and hypocrisy both are astyam, asatyam, though it has a place in classic arts to add some subtle beauty in expression. For total ahimsa, there are some exceptions permitted in our Shastras. When you fight a war on grounds of principles of Dharma, and while doing life sacrifice in yaga, ahimsa has been excused. You may think that there can be no such excuse for truth, but here too a different type of exception has been permitted. Let me explain this. There are many types of rascals in the society. Seeing them, a man sincerely feels bad. He keeps talking about them that so and so did this mischief, so and so is corrupt, and so on. His heart and mind and speech are identical, but his talk is of no use to him or the people hearing or the offending persons. Such oneness of mind and speech is a waste and not satyam. Let us consider another man. His mind is full of horrendous thoughts. He speaks his mind out. This is not satyam either. So, satyam is not only the oneness of mind and speech, but also expression of good thoughts to create pleasant feelings and effects. So, the definition of satyam is further improved to read satyam bhuta hitam priyam by thought, speech, and action. What is good and pleasant for people and all life forms is satyam. To hurt and harm is asatyam. It is not enough to tell a man what is good for him. It has to be said in a loving and kind manner to be acceptable. Even good things, if told in a harsh manner, may not be acceptable to anybody. Such wasted good intentions and speech cannot be called the truth. It should be good intrinsically. It should be conveyed with love in a pleasant manner. Tell the truth, tell it nicely. Do not tell truths if it cannot be said pleasantly. Do not tell untruths even if it's a pleasant. Now we have a comprehensive definitive direction. Satyam bruyat priyam bruyat. Nam bruyat satyam apriyam. Priyam chana anrutam bruyat. In a mind full of hatred and passion, such pleasant and loving kind words of truth will not arise. If commonly beneficial, pleasant truth is to come out of one's mouth, that man's mind and heart should have evolved transcending desires, passions, and hatred. So now it is clear that for truth, mind and speech should coincide, mind and heart should be clean, speech should be pleasant and lovingly calm and kind. All told what is self cleansing for one's own mind, heart and soul is also socially beneficial. If someone stands firm in truth, there is an avantara prayojanam, that is, an unintended useful byproduct. A man of truth has this effect on the environment that whatever he says will automatically become the truth. Such a man will never knowingly lie. So, by chance, if he unknowingly, accidentally, or mistakenly utters an untruth, it will become the truth. I will tell you a story in substantiation. In Tirukkadavur, there was a devotee of God as Ambal, the mother goddess. His name was Abhirami Bhattar. He would constantly think of mother and be in an intoxicated state of divine love. Some people who were jealous of him told Sarboji Maharaja that Bhattar was becoming a drunkard. Sarboji Maharaj wanted to test for himself the truth of this statement. One day he came to meet the Bhattar in Tirukkadavur. As usual, Abhirami Bhattar was in a state of supreme devotional inebriation. During the conversation, the king asked Bhattar as to what is the tithi, that is, the date of the fortnight. After full or new moon, Bhatter, who was all the time thinking of mother's brilliantly beautiful face, happened to say that it is a Purnami. That means a full moon night. The king thought that others complained about Bhattar's drunkenness was proved, so he mischievously suggested that they should check the sky. At that moment, though it was a new moon night, the full moon was seen in all its glory, to the utter shock of all those who were assembled there. Because Abhirami Bhatta was immersed in truth, by mistake when he uttered an untruth, the mother threw her earstud in the sky, which was seen as the full moon. When great Mahatmas or saints and such give you blessings or a curse, it frustrates invariably because of their being rooted in truthfulness. Whatever they say will happen. This is the avantara prayojanam of their being firm in Satyam. But you cannot stick to the truth so that whatever you say may become truth. That is, the avantara prayojanam cannot be an intended aim. Great saints may cure disease or remove poison or work out miracles, but not intentionally. From the time we are placed in the mother's womb till we are cremated, to cleanse ourselves, 40 samskaras are required to be done as quoted in the Shastras. With them, if we can also strictly observe the inner constraints of ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, saucham, and indriya nigraham, we can raise ourselves to such levels of purity that we will know the answers to questions such as who is God? Who am I? What are we? What is truth? And so on. Because then we will have the required maturity not to covet others' things, will loosen the pull of desires to this extent that you will know that everything is already yours. Saucham is a word derived from suchi, that is cleanliness. Outer cleanliness, muddy and acharam, leads to inner purity. Indriya Nigraham, meaning effective control of the senses, is very essential, whatever may be your actions, such as seeing, eating, hearing, saying anything, do all that selectively with control. That is Indriya Nigraham, or in Tamil, Pulan Adakkam. Unless desire is controlled, there can be no spiritual progress. These are applicable to all people, irrespective of castes. Om Shri Mahaperiva Sharanam.